This is QTV News. I am Answana Esonyasi and thanks for joining us. Coming up, today's TRRC saw one of its most dramatic scenes as former enemies reconciled at the TRRC and in front of the whole world. A former orderly to ex-President Jammeh gave testimony at the TRRC with startling revelations about the former president's treatment of his orderlies and his appetite for women. Fatou Barrow, the First Lady, accepts on behalf of the Gambian people a generous donation from a Saudi relief organization. And a political party welcomes back its leader from an overseas trip amid scenes that brought much of the surrounding area to a standstill. Stay tuned as we bring you more on these and other stories. At the end of the testimony by one of ex-President Jammeh's former orderlies, the Truth Commission witnessed the reconciliation of Edward Singate and Sana Sabali. The two were said to have masterminded the July 1994 coup which brought Yahya Jammeh to power. The latter became bitter enemies. Here is an excerpt.
I have only two proverbs in this regard, and my mother and my grandmother used to tell me, if you break the bridge over which you're supposed to walk over to go and ask for forgiveness, when the time comes, you may not have that bridge there. Either way, we are victims, either way, we are oppressors. So I decided to initiate the line so that we can reconcile for our personal interests and also to make a line so that at least we ask for forgiveness deep from our hearts to the nation so that the victims and their families could find it in their hearts to give us a forgiveness which will actually help us all to reconcile with our inner with our inner minds to be able to move forward as a nation in the reconciliatory form.
First of all, I would like to thank the Almighty Allah for giving me and all of us this opportunity. But more so, I would like to thank my brother Sana Sabali. We should not have been in this situation right now. This is not what we got up to do in 1994. I can remember clearly your vision, my vision, that this country would be a paradise for all Gambians. Anyway, everything is in the hands of the Almighty Allah. We had our intentions. It did not end up like that. In the process, we fell apart to such an extent that you had to go through something so terrible. Yes, I had assassination attempts and I was poisoned and people shot at me, but that is nothing compared to what you had to go through. No human being should have had to go through that.
Meanwhile, a former orderly of ex-President Yahya Jammeh and one-time member of the patrol team, Yusuf Sane, appeared before the commissioners of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission on Wednesday to give his testimony. Sane recalled, among other things, how Jammeh treated his guards and sexually abused many women. Babakar C reports.
Mr. Sane began his testimony with a background of his training in the army and up to the point of his first mission, which was the order given by General Sol Baji to burn down the independent newspaper. His next mission was to serve as an orderly to Yahya Jammeh in 2004 when he and 3 others were identified and advised to execute all the orders given by Jammeh. In 2006, he recalled exporting groundnut from Kanilai to State House with Solo Bojang and a colleague. On their way back to Kanilai, they took a bend just after the Palmarima Johnson and entered a compound. There, he saw a man taken out from a room tied with a rope by Malik Jatta, with already 7 other detainees in different pickup vehicles. They drove to Kanilai and Solo Bojang told them that the detainees were mercenaries. When they reached at a point, they were ordered to stay in their vehicles while Tumbul Tamba and Solo Bojang escorted the detainees inside the bush and executed them.
Then all of a sudden, we had a gunshot.
How many times kilo nying kumata nyami kat wato
I cannot recall for how many times there were gunshots. I cannot recall that.
He explained that his deployment to the State House as an orderly was a nightmare for him and other orderlies. He recalled incidents when Jammeh would use mosquito sprays, he swore or insult their mothers when he found them dozing off.
Once I had an injury on my head, the mark is here, the camera can even focus on it.
The sword that he holds in his hand.
He once found me there, but I was not asleep, but I had closed my eyes. The sword was inside the cupboard. So he took that and hit me on my head, and he wounded me, and blood started oozing out.
He alleges that Yaya Jammeh used to threaten him by stating that he would die like a dog hit by a vehicle on the road. On the issue of ladies that Jammeh allegedly abused at the time, Sane recalled that Jammeh was attracted to ladies and he would sometimes organize grills and green tea for protocol officers and guards to enjoy, while ladies would sometimes arrive at odd hours of the night. On the list of women allegedly abused by Jammeh provided to Sane, he recognized 9 names from the list as among those that came to Kanilai at odd hours to visit Yaya Jammeh.
So number 32 would bring number 28 to Kanilai, is that correct?
Ako abele ko tansaba ni mfulanja on leka muani seyinja on nati Kanilai bang.
Yes.
And around what time of the night would that be?
Wakake suto wati jumale.
Sometimes they will arrive at 1 a.m. Sometimes 2 a.m.
Apart from the brutalization of his orderlies, Sane recalled the incident of April 2014 when Alaji Martin hit him, escorted him, while Nuha Baji handcuffed him and drove him to the NIA office. The following day, he was told that the president accused him of removing the firing pins from his guns and of stealing his money, which he strongly denied. He was later taken to a small room where he was questioned and tortured. He told the commissioners that during his detention, his parents were also arrested and kept at the same NIA building for 2 weeks. When he got released and taken back to the State House, Yaya Jammeh came down to meet him and told him, "This is nothing." After a few months, Jammeh later demoted him from second lieutenant to warrant officer class 1 and again another demotion to a couple. When he traveled to the US with the president on official duty, he left them at the hotel and escaped. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
The government of Saudi Arabia, through the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, has donated 50 tons of dates to the people of the Gambia through the office of the First Lady. Aliou Cissé tells us more.
The donation is described as a humanitarian gesture by the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, and the dates will be distributed among the poor and needy. The Minister for Women, Children and Social Welfare, Fadusanya Kinte, welcomed the donation, which she said will be useful to the beneficiaries. Abdul Latif is the head of the Saudi delegation. Among the beneficiaries are the National Women's Council, Serekunda General Hospital, the Gambia National Aid Secretariat, the Supreme Islamic Council, and people with special needs. Receiving the donation, Betty Sen of the Fatih Barbara Foundation, while thanking the benefactor, explains what the foundation has been doing. First Lady Fatih Barbaro also had a closed-door meeting with the Saudi delegation where they discussed possible partnership in several areas of national development. A certificate of appreciation was also presented to the Saudi delegation. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
A huge crowd turned out to welcome Ousainou Darboe, the Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party. The UDP leader landed at Banjul International Airport on Tuesday after having been on tour in the America and Europe to meet party supporters in the diaspora. Darboe was escorted by a huge convoy to his residence amid singing and dancing by party supporters, which brought many parts of the Greater Banjul area to a standstill. Here is a brief excerpt.
Had fruitful engagement with party supporters, and in the process of that engagement, some sympathizers and others who have heard a lot about UDP changed their allegiances and came to UDP. So it was a very, very fruitful tour, and it has been the best. I discussed with the Gambian diaspora, not only UDP, but with the Gambian diaspora, the policies of the United Democratic Party when we come into government, and that their own concern or demand is that they want to be enfranchised, they want to vote. And I think that is an absolute necessity, it's an imperative. It's not in fact a necessity, it's an imperative. The Gambian diaspora contributes at least 20% of GDP. Their contribution to the economy of this country cannot be doubted.
The duration of his journey definitely ought to be, to be welcome today, because he traveled not only for UDP party, but for the whole Republic of the Gambia. If you look at the political situation also of the Gambia, we are heading towards end of the year, and then we hope that this year would end in peace, and there will be no problem, because for us, we the UDP party, we are not attracting any violence in this country, and we will not support any violence in this country.
We want to establish a government, create a situation where the government will be at the mercy of the Gambian people, where government will be responsive to the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people. A United Democratic Party government will not spend money on water tanks to wash you.
And we now take a short commercial break, but when we return, we hear about an important West African summit and the hidden dangers in household pains. Do stay tuned.
Why wouldn't you? When you get to enjoy a massive 50% reduction on your pay-as-you-go data tariff. You know you get to enjoy such amazing discounts with QCell's fantastic network. Enjoy our reduced pay-as-you-go data tariff every day from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. No subscription, no validity period. Simply recharge your account and off you go. QCell, the Gambia's quality network.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. QCell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
Welcome back. A two-day West Africa Leaders Forum on Population and Development was organized by the National Youth Council in collaboration with African Youth Commission and ECOWAS West African Health Organization, WAHO. Mamjara ACC reports.
The forum is expected to bring together 100 youth leaders and youth organizations from ECOWAS and the Sahel countries. The youth leaders and youth organizations from ECOWAS and the Sahel countries are to share their work and initiative at national level that advance the International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD agenda. The forum hopes to create solutions to tackle problems affecting young people. The theme, the contribution of West African youth to accelerating the promise, is aimed at fighting against gender-based violence, gender inequality, amongst others. The platform looks forward for young people to have access to comprehensive reproductive health care, safe pregnancy and childbirth service, prevention of sexual transmitted diseases, and the eradication of all forms of discrimination, including sex, amongst other aims. Mr. Dembo Kambi, chairman of the Gambian National Youth Council, says the government and organization only use the name youth to beautify their documents, while the youths particularly are not getting what they should receive from those institutions. He added that there are several issues affecting young people in society which needs to be addressed.
The substance abuse, the infant mortality rate, the child mortality rate, the use of drugs, unemployment, conflicts. These are all issues affecting our well-being as young people.
Dr. Mumbo, Medici Eve Amand, Maternal and Child Health Programs Officer with WAHO, says since 1994, they have shown high interest in the problems affecting young people, especially when it comes to sexual reproductive health.
Sexual and reproductive health problems affecting adolescent and young people in ECOWAS member states include early or child marriage with its attendant with health issues, social and legal ramifications.
Mr. Kunle Adini, resident representative, UNFPA, the Gambia, explains his thoughts on accelerating the promise made in Cairo on population and development regarding the issues affecting young people.
I make bold to say a lot of the issues we have now wouldn't be our problem because we would have invested in sexual and reproductive health. We would have made family planning information and services available to the young person. We wouldn't turn it to a political issue. We would have made sure that every girl child in every country in West Africa has access to quality education.
Claude Kondo, political advisor to ECOWAS Mission the Gambia, elaborates on the significance of the ICPD in sub-regional countries.
So good health care and reproductive rights remain elusive for most women, and that no country can boast of having achieved full gender equality, as girls are still being forced to marry old men and are most times subjected to sexual violence during time of conflict.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of the groundbreaking Cairo 1994 International Conference on Population and Development. Reporting for QTV News, I am Mamjara Isise.
Young volunteers for the environment, the Gambia, organized a day-long forum to raise awareness and promote actions to address the effects on human health of lead exposure. The forum brought together environmental officials and the Standard Bureau. Mamoudou Gajaga attended the event and he now reports.
We all use paint to beautify our houses without realizing that the lead contained in the paint has health implications. This forum is meant to address some of those challenges. Statistics have shown that paint and other products that we use in our households contained high levels of lead, posing health risk, especially to children.
As a result of these concerns, and also the fact that most of us, especially Gambians, are still unaware of the content of lead in the paints that we purchase daily, and also are also unaware of the health effects of lead poisoning, YVE will continue its advocacy and awareness creation towards the Gambian people. During this week of action, which is how they call it, from the 20th to the 26th of October, YVE will work with stakeholders in order to raise awareness on the health effects of lead poisoning.
In 2017, a joint survey conducted by Youth Volunteers for the Environment and the National Environment Agency on lead in solvent-based paint for home use in the Gambia found out that 62% of solvent-based paint contain lead concentrations above 90 parts per million ppm. In addition to this, 41% of paints contain dangerously high lead concentrations above 10,000 ppm. The survey also revealed that the highest lead concentrations detected was 100,000 ppm in 2 yellow paints imported from the United Arab Emirates, one of which was advertised as 100% lead-free.
Dealing with lead, it means when we regulate with them, because they might have ideas that we don't have. That's the essence. As I said, Standards Bureau, they set the standards. There may be standards in other parts of the world, but you will realize that our economic levels are not the same. So our standards will not be the same. Standards for lead, perhaps in Western Europe, and what we want to implement here might not be the same.
There are numerous health implications due to lead poisoning. It causes hypertension, low IQ, kidney dysfunction, and growth delays in children. Lead poisoning can also cause memory loss, stillbirth, and miscarriage.
So 5.6% of global burden of ischemic heart disease and 6.2% of global burden of stroke. The heart diseases, it is 5.6% of the problem is caused by lead exposure, and for heart disease, it is 6.2%.
Despite their efforts, there are no enforced regulations in the Gambia to ban lead paints and many other chemicals that contain lead. With our porous borders, lack of proper laboratories to analyze lead paints, a total control or ban on lead paints will be difficult. Mamoudou Gajaga, QTV News.
And before we end this bulletin of the news, let's take a quick look at our main headlines. Today's TRRC saw one of its most dramatic scenes as former enemies reconciled at the TRRC and in front of the whole world. A former orderly to ex-President Jammeh gave testimony at the TRRC with startling revelations about the former president's treatment of his orderlies and his appetite for women. Fatou Barrow, the First Lady, accepts on behalf of the Gambian people a generous donation from a Saudi relief organization. And a political party welcomes back its leader from an overseas trip amid scenes that brought much of the surrounding area to a standstill. That brings us to the end of this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching.